Hey everybody, we're here at Steamtown National Historic Site with Robert John Davis. And Robert, who are you with?
I'm with Project 3713, the partnership with the National Park Service that's restoring Boston and Maine 462-3713 here at the park.
Right, which is a huge, huge Pacific for those of you that are unfamiliar with it. So what year was the locomotive built? 1930?
32.
1932, right? Years, so many years, you know, to keep straight in numbers with the steam engines and the wheels and the. So, what we're working on right now is the booster engine for the locomotive. So, for those that don't know, locomotives had these massive auxiliary locomotives, as they were known, these little steam engines mounted up underneath trailing trucks. Not all steam locomotives, of course, but the ones that they wanted to pull a lot. Or in the case of the 3713, you know, it was primarily a passenger locomotive, and it has massive drivers, relatively small cylinders, all things considered, built for speed. And so oftentimes it would need a little boost, whether getting a train started or on a mountain grade or et cetera, et cetera.
So what speed would this be cut in at? From start till...
Generally, okay, so yeah, if you're starting off a really heavy train, you'd cut the booster in standing still. They generally, this is why we have books, right? I've never had to run a locomotive with a booster, so it's not something I've committed to memory. But I'm pretty sure you were not supposed to ever cut them in at speeds above 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
If you're below 10, you could put it into full gear. So basically, this works in harmony with the actual locomotive, with the cylinders on the locomotive. In fact, the way it functions, you have to have the reverse quadrant all the way forward, kind of like a Johnson bar for those that aren't familiar, but it's the air-operated version, right? So you have to have that all the way forward, and it engages a little pneumatic valve that opens some other valves, and then when you open the throttle, that opens yet more valves. There's like, golly, there's like a half dozen control valves in this whole system. It takes steam off of the delivery pipe, off of the left-hand side of the locomotive, and brings it back to the booster. So the booster engine is actually operating off of superheated steam from the delivery pipe going to the left-hand cylinder. So this booster is in particularly really good condition. I mean, they're underneath the locomotive, so it's kind of hard for them to get completely saturated or whatever.
It's normally cased in, right? There's
Yes.
a full cover that goes over this.
Yes, all these flat surfaces, this framework, there's a 3/16 thick steel plate that gets bolted into position, and it actually becomes an oil-tight box. So you really have to think of this as like the crankcase of an automobile engine. You know, imagine if you could...
That's a great analogy,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
So basically the oil pan in an automobile engine is on the bottom, of course. Well, on this, the bottom is actually a solid casting, and the removable tin is, well, compared to the casting, it's definitely tin, even at 3/16 thick, is all over the rest of the engine. So if you take a look in here, just like a steam locomotive, it's really kind of like a cross between a little steam engine and a really, really, really heavy-duty stoker motor. You've still got a piston rod, a crosshead guide. You have a crankshaft, connecting rod, eccentric rod. There's no valve gear per se. I mean, this is technically valve gear, so that's a false statement. But it's not a reversible valve gear. You've got the eccentric rod driving this tumbling shaft over to the piston valve. It's only set up to run in forward. And you know, as you can see, there's not a lot of rust. I mean, there's many areas of it that are still shiny from when it was machined. This stoker motor, so you don't know this yet, so this is going to be fun new information for you. So as we were taking a look at this thing yesterday, really, you know, got it up on the stands and everything. Hey Carlos, I don't speak the language, but I hope it's good laughter. Yes, and 4449 has one. 2100 used to. They took it off to put onto the 614, and it never got put on the 614. And yes, 2101 still has one. And yes, Steve, Frisco 1522 absolutely does. And I've seen that thing used. 1994 NRHS convention, trip down to Macon. Really impressive.
I would have loved to have seen that locomotive run.
Oh, it's a beautiful engine. But anyway, so this thing had to have gone through a fairly major overhaul. Now, we do know that it received a Class 3 overhaul not long before it went into snow melting service.
Right. Right.
Okay, so the booster had some heavy work. The booster, so come over here with me, John. We're gonna go up underneath a little bit. So, all right, yeah, you guys can see it. All right, so here we're looking at the idler gear, which is the movable gear that drops down. Hey, Henry. It drops down and engages the bull gear on the axle itself. Well, right here you can make out the teeth. It's a little glary, but these are the actual teeth on the crankshaft. Now the crankshaft, you'll love this. The crankshaft, the gears on the crankshaft, it's a one-piece forging. The gears are upset on the shaft and actually machined on the shaft itself. Now, there's no way to do justice to this until I actually get the thing taken apart. But if you feel that gear, it feels just like a brand new diesel locomotive pinion gear in that you can feel the lobe. You can even feel like an edge on the surface that bears most of the wear. It's brand new. In fact, Bruce Malbray, who is kind of the coordinator, I guess.
Restoration specialist on the project?
Yes, with the park. When we were looking at it yesterday, he actually noticed there's residue, dried up oil and whatnot all over this thing. But he noticed something that just seemed a little off. It was green in color. So peels it off with his fingernail. They used to have all sorts of different cosmoline type products, and one of them had a very green hue to it. It's
still on it.
Still on it. So
awesome.
You know, we're really hopeful that this thing is no worse for wear, no worse for age. But you know, we're going to take it all apart. We're going to Magnaflux everything that would make sense to Magnaflux. Check all the bearing clearances and everything like that, and we'll take you through the process. So as things start coming apart, and there are updates to be given. And you know, show everybody how a booster works, because who's ever gotten to see that? I mean, I haven't. You know, there's few people that have even seen one of these out from underneath the locomotive, and nobody has ever seen one completely taken apart. So this is going to be really amazing.
It's going to be such an important part of the project too, and just another great example of all the different appliances and pieces of this locomotive that need to be addressed.
Absolutely.
Piece by piece. I love it. And before any of my friends in New England jump on me, 1934 was the build date, not 32. And she got her name in 1937.
Okay, so there you go. There you go. He corrected himself, so cut him some slack.
A little slow on the draw today.
Yeah, he's my friend. He's a little slow. For those that don't know, because there are ever increasing numbers of younger people in this industry. It's not a hobby. In this industry, the preservation industry. Go watch Dumb and Dumber. It's a hilarious movie. You'll get it. All right, so hey, we're gonna wrap it up with that, and you know, I hope everybody's enjoyed watching. Like I said, there will be subsequent videos. You can check my page, check their page, follow this project. It's one of the most invasive projects going on in the country on a steam locomotive. It's really pretty impressive. I mean, a whole new firebox. The new wrapper sheet. It was under-engineered by Lima, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so, right? That would be the
yeah,
going right back to the start.
Yeah, and you know, never bothered to boss it in Maine either. But you know, we have a better understanding and do things, you know, absolutely by the book nowadays. So anyway, for those that don't know, Franklin Railway Supply Company is a manufacturer. That might be backwards for everybody like it is for me, but if it is, it's a shame. They produce some of the best appliances for steam locomotives, including Franklin Precision reverse gear, which so you know, if anybody that's been in a locomotive, and we're going way off base here, but whatever, it's fine. For anybody that's been in any kind of a steam locomotive, you know, Johnson bar only has a couple notches as you move the bar forward, backward, off of center. A reverse quadrant has anywhere from about, I don't know, 6 teeth per inch to, God, I mean, some of them are really fine tooth. They've got maybe like 14 or so. A Franklin Precision reverse gear probably triples that level of adjustment. So instead of having a tooth that's like maybe a 10th or a 12th of an inch, you can have you know, just the slightest little incremental adjustments. And having run a couple locomotives with back pressure gauges, there are times when you're running along and you know, your back pressure arbitrarily, let's just say, is about 10 pounds, and you really want it about 8 because that's ideal. for that engine, and you move it one notch and it drops it to 6. You literally need the middle notch. And Franklin built amazing equipment, and you know, the Franklin Precision reverse gear got that. And as a little side note, and this is not an exclusive across the board thing, but there's quite a number of locomotives, I think it was railroads just showing the love to Franklin, that had boosters were also running with the Franklin Precision reverse gear. It's just one of those, you know, happy little coincidences.
Right.
You know, there was all sorts of draw to brand names back then, just like there is now with Hilfiger or Chevy or Ford or Dodge or whatever.
Absolutely.
You know.
A lot of loyalty too to those
Absolutely,
brands.
brand loyalty.
So
yeah.
what locomotives running now have the precision reverser? Do you know if they're?
Oh my gosh, boy, that's a good question. Well, You know, I don't
be a fair question, because running now can be interpreted a number of different ways.
That's really true. I mean, you know, the 700 was running not that long ago. No, you know, I'm going through a mental list and I can't think of any. I mean, the 2716 ran in preservation. The Empress, I'm not sure if it's Franklin. It's got to be Franklin Precision. The Empress is operable, but not running. I don't think the Empress, for those that don't know, it's the 2816 up in Canada, operated by the Canadian Pacific. And the Pensy, they had like a manual version of the precision reverse gear.
Of course
where
they
basically costs money to do it the right way. Where basically you've got a really coarse thread and a wheel that cranks and moves the connecting rod back and forth, adjusting your valve gear. So 1225, I don't know, Brian. Pull up a picture and take a look. Maybe I won't say no. I've only seen that engine twice, and the last time was about 12 years ago. So I'm not going to swear to it. But yeah, I'm not really thinking of any others. We'll say maybe the 1225, and other than that, I don't really know of any. Soon 2716. Yeah, the 587 did have it. And 3254 does, but it's not running.
Right.
So again, you know, in terms of the operational engine side of things, I don't know.
Not a lot.
Maybe, yeah,
Not a lot. Interesting.
So, but anyway, stay tuned. Their page, Project 3713. My page. Well, you're on it, so you know what it is. And we'll be taking you through the process of rebuilding this booster and showing you how it works from one end to the other. So it should be something enjoyable to see.
Cool. Follow along.